right. I know it doesn't look that much better, but at least there's chaos is kind of gone. Still got a full trash can though. Got fresh acetone, fresh rag. All right, first order of business. It's gonna be this guy. So this is a PCI pumper, usually for your helmet. There's 2 ports, they're staggered, and then there's a volume control under here. Volume as far as how much air is being pushed through, or probably fan speed. So symmetry says to put that thing right smack there. Do we want that to be facing us? Not necessarily. I mean, that's the cool way. Do we need to adjust that knob a lot? No. What's best? Probably sink this thing low right here. Have the filter up there. It's still below the profile of the cage tube, so if it does take a rollover, no, I'll probably still get messed up. But that'll be the easiest for making tabs. We're gonna have to elevate it a little bit and get it away from that. It's not gonna stay though. Anyways, thinking this guy's gonna be right here. So I'm gonna get a pattern going. As far as a plate, like a mounting surface, this is a tube clamp, so I'm gonna take that apart. And then I'm gonna work on getting this fixed right here. And then we're gonna run our tubes. Really, you want like an assembly table or a soft table or something for parts. And then you want a fabrication and layout table. I always have some sort of version of that. That's just a plastic table. And then I always have a component bucket, like where I keep stuff. This is usually stuff that lives on the table. And I transferred this over from my other workstation where the Range Rover is. But this is just, I like to just keep stuff I can toss in the bucket so there's not crap all over the table. Same thing here. This is a little, these are things you want to get ahead of before you get too many projects in, because they get to be tremendous to clean up. This one's right there. So once we finish, I'm going to split all that up. Tape. This is called 2097. So this is 3M 2097. I used to run green tape on everything. And green tape is very protective, but it is terrible to leave on. And these things, no stranger to taking a long time on projects. And when you leave that stuff on, it is so hard to get off. Not only is it hard to get off, but if you leave something on and it sees sun exposure, you are in the darkest arts. So this yellow tape is premium to me for protecting stuff. And it comes off really easy. You can leave it on for a long time. And I would prefer it over the green. The green is definitely good for taping templates together, daily fabrication, but not stuff where you're leaving stuff on for a long amount of time. Anyways, I'm just doing some perimeter stuff on this. Depends on how crazy I'm gonna get with the part. It's dependent that, the tape job's dependent on that then. But with this, I think I'm gonna be safe. I'm not gonna be tossing this thing around too much. It's really just gonna be getting that tab on this side, brop, brop, and then getting it in the car, and we're bolting it in and we're done. Look, I'll look better today, huh? That's better today. All right. Got that gym. New Year's Day, early morning gym, opening at 6. You get there right at 6. Man, the small win that equals. Get out of the clutter. Got our basics. Where's my shitty pin? Shitty pin is here. Gonna go hardcore template making really quick. Do you guys want to see template making, or should we just skip this stuff? Should we just have a Fab Diaries on template making? It's just such a part of my life now. I do thousands of these things. Okay, we know our spread, so I can probably just measure the spread here. That is looking like a 2, well, it's gonna be metric, but we can go ahead and get imperial on this thing. About, oh, it's not. That's going to be a pain in the ass. All right. So 277, so 2.77. All right. Now we're going to transfer that. So we're going to set this up. Small adjustable square, always good. So non-critical holes. I know when I used to do structural steel that we used to go one size up. I don't always go one size up on this stuff. This is gonna be square. Yeah, it's gonna be square, okay. I don't always go like one hole size up, but I might do a 32nd up. You know, not always a 16. And that to me is premium for parts that are not critical. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. I like to go a little bigger. So when you do powder coat or anything, you have a little wiggle room, and that's always great. You know, no matter what, especially if it's like a 4-point mounting surface, if the holes are a little bigger, not a big deal. That's gonna be helpful. If it's anything that's critical, anything that's gonna be like suspension pivots, engine mount, gearbox mount, shock mounts, always tight as possible. No larger holes, nothing. Powder coat it, ream the holes when it's done. But like to make your life easier on components, always a size up. 32nd, 64th, possibly a 16th. But that's what I'm gonna do with these. I'm gonna get them a little bigger. I have my general. So what I'm doing is I just built a grid of my layout, right? And I know it's a little taller, but I know what I need. That's what, a 1/4 inch off the top. So we're just a little shy of that on this, unfortunately. But I'll put a note in here. So we want a 1/4 inch off the top. Put a note, because I'm not gonna get it over here. Oh, we're like so close with the template. This thing's gonna want 2 brakes in it. I know we wanted to elevate it off the top of that tube junction in there, off the X. So I don't know how much space. Oh, I definitely have room for elevation. Badass. Okay, cool. I'm going to leave 3/8 of an ear on the top of this, so when I put it in the brake, it doesn't do a weird fold thing. And then what do we want to do? Let's probably go from this bolt pattern. I'm just going to put some wings on this thing. I'm going to shoot the moon on this, meaning I'm going to take a calculated guess. Shoot the moon. That's from Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke when they're doing like a drug raid on Strawberry's house. And the guy yells that out the zipper instead of over the radio, and the undercovers are in a like a laundry. I think it was a laundry van. Shoot the moon. I just dated myself, huh? Another badass movie I used to watch when I was younger was Kids on VHS. The movie Kids, based in New York. It's a hardcore 90s movie. See what we got here? I like to leave. I don't go right to a point on these brakes because when I put them in the brake, it's going to deform this edge. So I just give it a little bit of that, and then I'll radius this off on a sander. But what you can see here, so we got our mounting surface here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna rip something like this. Shoot, okay, I see what I did wrong. I broke that on the layout. Chop, cut, rebuild. All right. I'm gonna transfer the data here because I need a fresh start. I messed up. So whenever I make mess ups, my number one thing, and that's why I always tell the guys, is it's not about making the mistake, it's about how fast you get out of the mud when you're there. And so, you know, I remember like working at just any of the shops, if I'd like botch a tube or something, I feel like all the fab shops have a pile of botched tubes where you go and you bury that tube. And if you have like an employer, sometimes you're like, before he comes out and sees this, I'm gonna throw this one in the pile and then I'm gonna make a new one as fast as I can. And yeah, I used to do stuff like that. And it was my urgency, like, oh shit, I fucked something up. Let's get through this as fast as possible. And that's the programming in my brain for anytime I have some kind of a mistake. I wish you could get out of them fast in life, but some of them, the life consequences are a little longer sustaining. All right, so I broke that in the wrong spot. So I want to go another 1/4 inch past that before I break. Quarter should be still very tidy with the part. And then we want to go 3/8 out for our wing. I got Selena over there calling my name to weld. I told you I got a lot of multitasking going on right now. We're prepping the Range Rover. Got Selena to weld. Colin's getting his final bouts of work in here on the Duke wagon, and then that's going to be a team effort as well. Almost want to keep that bottom longer. So I'm just going to do a little jerry rig break here. All right, now let's party on this thing. Much better. Did you get that fucking point in right here? Oh my gosh, dude. No way. Okay. So you need to add a 1/4. Slow down, right? Oh, at least I'm getting my mistakes in early. Okay, cool. So I'm going to add a 1/4 to this. All right. Pretty easy thing. I'm just going to make a flat bracket that bolts to the high mounting surfaces, so I'm not going to worry about the tube index. I clipped this line right at the bolt layout, but it is what it is. I'm going to be able to hit all 4, and I'm just going to add a 1/4 on the top of this, and everything's going to be fine. What I want to go do in there is I need to look at how this is going to go, because this portion is going to notch around the tubes, and then I'm going to cut some of it out so it's just floating on each tube, and then the intersection is open down here. Okay, this is how we want it. Distance from... All right, so all I'm looking at is height right now. This guy probably wants to be somewhere right around here. Template goes pretty hard, so I'm probably gonna have to pull 1.5 inches off this thing already. I can probably get the win on this thing. Go right up from there, go 1.5 inches, pull a notch. All right. Feel me? So little out of form, but I see what that is, but it's already happy. We want to get this thing level vertically, I guess. We want to get it vertical. So I'm going to look at the tune-up on what I need to do, because I see those gaps in there on the, like the notch area here. But other than that, pretty solid. Okay, so if I make those more 90, yeah, but I don't like them 90. I like them winged out like 45. So this is called like a trick tab. Trick tab usually just has 2 brakes, you know, broke over tabs like that. But damn, it's already pretty solid. Rotation, yeah, we should be able to rotate and everything. So as long as I can verify. Okay, something else I'm noticing too is it's not level. Oh, that's just adjustment. So that's gonna just be this. Like sight the top of the tab to the tube. See if I'm moving it, it's gonna, you know, depending on where it is. So if it's centered on these tubes, then we're gonna be level. And I'll check all that, right? I'm gonna do a digi right here to get this thing at 0. And then I'm gonna get it up here at 0 too. Or I guess 90 and 0. Right now, I just need to do just a visual to see if this is what we want. I think my armpit smells. So honestly, oh yeah, we can get low right here. Fire. Okay, so I'm probably gonna go down to that mark down there. This is gonna be clean. Okay, so I have data that I need. Okay, I got enough. All right, we're good to party here. So what this is gonna want, so this is your driver lower mounting provision. You got your upper, so forth and so on. So this is, on the template, the call out was these locations. This is the lower locations, driver, passenger. This wants to be lower down. So really I have the data here to do the lower, and then I'm gonna just do a new layout. I'm gonna get this guy going, and I'm gonna trim these wings. And then I'm also gonna remove the fat out of here. We just want a weld here, and we want a weld here. And I'm gonna essentially put some shape into this thing where it looks good. And that's all the meat this part's gonna need. It doesn't need to have extra shit going on. We'll be able to drill this, prep it. The tubes are already pretty much prepped. And so we'll get this on, and then we'll zero it in the car, you know, 0 and 90 it. And then we're ready to just connect the dots here. Excuse me. Hey, who's this? Who's this? Hi, baby. Hi, sweet. Oh, we call her the pit bull. The pig bull, I'm sorry, the pig bull. Hi. Hi, cute. Oh, yeah, sweetie. All right, cut down is done. I am gonna put a little bit of a style point hit in here. I know that I'm probably gonna use a 3/4 inch barrel. I'll do 1 inch because it makes sense right here. But I try not, just to make things easier if I can with layout, like I'll do stuff that requires, I don't know, like a tool, like it doesn't require special tooling, right? So if I do like if I have a 3/4 inch barrel sander, then I can do a diameter as long as it's 3/4 or greater, where it's not going to, you know, I'm not going to have to do something with a sketchy, like a carbide bit or something. Ooh, the pig's a little stinky right now, a little sour. Needs a bath. A little sour. That pig's name is Baby, if you guys want to know. She's a coon pig, and she thinks she's a dog. She's potty trained. Her #1 priority in life, if she is not seeking love and attention, is food. And if she is seeking love and attention and food becomes a present priority or a value, everything else goes out the window. It's game over. She doesn't give a fuck about you. She just wants food. All right, check that bad boy out. If you want, sometimes what I like to do so I don't get confused is I circle where I want my holes. And that tells me that I know those are 10/24s. I'm probably going to use a 1/4 bit, which is even larger, but I'm gonna verify that instead of shooting off the hip like that. All right, anyways, let's go cut this thing and let's drill it. 90 thou, more than enough. Looks like this was a little slip up piece that someone made, which I always like cutting from. So we're getting value and a mistake. All right. Note some of the information on here. I think we're good. Grab a straight edge, touch these up. One of the other things when I'm doing template work is I don't trust my straight lines from my template, so I redo them when I'm gonna cut. And then now I got something really solid to go off of. I'm also gonna note the break in here with a perforated line. Fresh gloves as well. Well, more fresh. And now we hammer down. So we have a really wide blade. This is a 3/4 blade. This cuts straight, and I prefer straight. This is a big saw. We do a ton of work on it. So I'd rather have a wider blade that lasts longer. It's a 19-foot blade as well, than a narrower blade that can cut curves. A lot of the work we can get curves with other stuff is. And it'll cut some curves, it just won't cut compound stuff. All right, clean up on aisle 7. No big deal, get that with the barrel sand emitter, get that with the radius master. Same with the radius master. I don't sit in one spot for too long, or I use the very edges of the belt where the guys don't use them. Well, danger zones. Why is it a danger zone? Because if you catch the edge of this belt in the right way, it'll cut the belt and tear it, or it will slap you in a way that doesn't feel good. Cool. All right, I got this thing center punched. Thought I was recording. This is like a classic mistake I'm making, is not recording when I think I am. I'll get better. I got everything I need here. This is not cleaned up yet, but the brake lines are here. The layout for, well, the center punch for our mounting surfaces are done. So I'm just gonna drill it, clean that, and put some brakes in it. Let's do it. I got this drill press, Craftsman drill press. Man. When did I get this thing? 21 years old. My mom got it for me when they actually had Sears stores that sold Craftsman stuff, and we went to Sears in Montclair Plaza, and I picked this bad boy up, and I built, I guess I've built everything since I was 21 with this. At least, you know, personal projects and things that were not at another shop. It's almost, this thing's almost broken. You got to give it a bump start. Making cool noises now too. Something precautionary I like to do is hold stuff with vice grips. Why? Because if it slings out of my hand and it cuts me, again, I'm down. Either my focus is now being annoyed by pain or by damage on my hand that I use, which is my greatest tool, besides the brain. So I don't take the risk. You know, it spins around or it could fuck up the hole. So just, again, these are like little tiny things that I just have had enough of that I don't take chances with. I see a lot of dudes like grinding shit with no safety glasses on, and just none of that makes sense to me, because the short return right there to not have to put your safety glasses on versus what could happen is just, like I said, doesn't make sense. A minute to win it here. I should have piloted these holes though. I'm just having to pay a little more attention to where that center punch is. I'm also using a stepped drill bit, so not a stepped drill bit, but a stepped drill bit, meaning that it's a typical drill bit like this, but on the very end of it, it steps. And what it does is a lot of times when you use a drill bit, a normal drill bit, it makes a hole, but the hole is not really a hole. It's not a circle. It's like a rounded triangle. These ones perform a perfect hole every time, and they're worth the investment. We don't have normal, well, we do have normal drill bits, but we don't use them. See it? Pretty cool. Built everything with this too. I guessed it. I feel good about it though, okay? I feel good about it. I can feel that we're at the end of this thing, and I'm excited. This is part of this project, specifically on the Bronco, is to get caught up with Jeff to a place where we can move forward. And it's to kind of clean my slate with him and get right on a page where we get to start working on the front of the car, just moving forward and not being stagnant anymore. So it's a blessing, but we're almost there. I can feel it. I'm gonna clean this. I'm not gonna DA sand it yet because that's the last thing we do. I wanna make sure that the notches fit. So we'll put it in there, we'll bolt everything up, put everything in there after I get this little part cleaned out. Make sure it fits right. And if I need to sand anymore, I'm gonna sand it first, and then I'm gonna completely DA everything. All right, do it the right way. I like to add a little bevel to all surfaces. Say we're talking about the plate work here, and we're looking at the plate from the side, and that's the wall thickness of the plate. First off, handling parts, right? If you're working and this part's mounted in the car and your arm's going past it or whatever, you don't want to have a hard edge on there, because if you're cranking on something or there's an emergency, you got to get something out, it's just a good move to put a small bevel on all the edges so they're not super sharp. The next one is paint. If you have a crispy 90-degree corner like that, the paint will have a tendency to chip off. And if you have a corner where there's just a little bit of a bevel like this, the paint will bond to the other side. So if you hit a wrench on it or something, it doesn't want to start chipping it. Look at the nap time hit right here. What? What? All right, moment of truth. Visually, looks like we got the win. Oh, dude, they look a little off. Let's see. They shouldn't be though. Hole fitment, not what I wanted. Glad they're oversized, but not as clean as I wanted. All four should have been like that right there. All right. What do you want? I want to take a little bit off the inside corners facing the front of the car. I'm going to grab the digi really quick just to verify this stuff. We're at 0.6 high on our passenger side, but right now I'm just going to check our vertical. So just seeing what it's going to do, the tab wants when I get it to 90. So which is right close to there. And I just see there's some trimming I need to do. I'm going to leave the part on there, go use the radius master and get it. And I think we're going to be good. I know that it fits. Now I don't need the part on here to tack anymore, because I also want this top surface to get level. These are my favorite. These are Klein. They're on Amazon. I'd buy like 3 or 4 if I were you, and a pack of AAAs. We're already making a mess. All right, layout tools can go away. Circle guide can go away. Shitty pin can go away. Probably leave this out, put the calipers away. I brought an extra DA pad just in case. Okay, something I like to do too before I'm gonna DA stuff is I always do an acetone wash. This one's actually pretty good. I tell you, I hate going through regs, so I try to hold on to mine until they're tapped out. You want to get rid of all the oil because it just blemishes your DA part or your, orbital sanded part, whatever you want to call it. I know the Mexicans in the auto body shops call them a jitterbug, so we could stick to that too. Let's get the hard areas first. They require the edge of the pad, which usually blows shit out first. And then you can get the broader stuff with the middle of the pad, All right, just give myself a reminder of where this thing's at. The trim worked out well, I like that. Right at 90. Wish you guys could see the 90, but I needed to see it more. Probably gonna pull anyways. A little tiny cup. Making little tiny cup noises. 89.9, huh? Can we get a little fucking back on this thing? Oh, it's danger close though. Alright. Let's get some tacks in there, get this thing on. I have this really small cup on here just from the aluminum that I was welding. I'll swap that out for make a 12 cup. One of my Furix cups in a second here. Got a pretty big default off the end of this thing. There we go. All right, that's enough to party. Time to start some symmetry. Connect the dots, and then we're done. See those couplers in there? So I just tightened, that's actually probably gonna work. They're bigger than what I thought. Like they sleeve over the blower pretty heavy, but when you put a hose clamp on them, they're super snug. So that's probably gonna do it for what we need. This thing's in there like we want it. I have these two guys just as mock-ups. I didn't mean to hit the aluminum like that, but there's enough flat here. I'm probably gonna pop this in and just see what, just get a baseline and see what that does. We're gonna have these things come down and then they're gonna have to feed back up somewhere. We wanna be mindful of the 90s that are gonna come off this stuff. And I think we're gonna be just fine. But again, they do need a little bit of a run up straight. Yeah, that'll be all right. The other thing is they are not pressure lines, so we can always do something like more aggressive if we didn't want as much straight, right? Like that's cleaner. But what I'm looking at is we might want to do something that's already, instead of this being like a, where it's a 90, I think we'd want to actually use more of the U-bin and send it back up. I bet you I'm going to get into a deficit of how many U-bins I ordered and should have ordered and things like that. I can check stock and see what we have in the supply room. That's how we build everything. So I don't like to use 90s or 45s, so I don't know. This is what's worked, so. I actually have 3 of these plus these 2 cuts. So we might be in a really good spot if I do this right. I'm gonna do a little experimenting here. Big old U-bin daddy. That's gonna be slick. I think that's the move actually. So this is gonna wanna travel somewhere cool. This is gonna wanna come out here and then go somewhere cool. So that goes up to the fill. We'll run it next to the fill, connect it here, and then pop it back down. Slick stuff. All right, that's gonna take 2 large U-bins if we do it that way, unless we have a different way to connect them. because that's gonna have to go down into that. So you can get a little bit of that pretty quick and just get going over to this area, which is probably proper. Probably proper, he says. Get a little past 90 on those guys. I'm gonna cut one of these tubes. Do we want to get over there? If we do get over there, yeah, we wanna like piggyback right to go from this fill over to that, and then get that hit right there, boy. Ooh, and that's gonna work. I can feel it. What are we gonna prioritize right now to make that work though? I got this U-joint put into here. I'm gonna look at this, see where we're gonna end up so I can cut that properly. You know, I don't know where I wanna start. We talked about going up first, right? So I'm just looking at like what angle I wanna be doing here, you know, and where I wanna cut stuff to get that up there. Then that's gonna rip, that's gonna go over here, and then it'll come back, go over here, and go into this thing. So I'm gonna start cutting. I think we wanna be somewhere around here. Pretend there's an invisible center line going through there. Tidy. I will definitely take that. Now I need to figure out where I wanna make the transition. So, you know, this tube is telling me a story that I want to hit. I'm almost looking at this because I think I can get this going. Party animal. Oh yeah, now we're here. A little bit of reveal right there. Ooh, cool. It's gonna rip. I'm gonna cut this, so I'm gonna make this cut right where I know, like, so I'm holding this here, right where I know this is gonna be parallel. I wanna do a 90-degree cut here so I can run this next tube, just for a little bit. So do something, make a mark. Do I eyeball this stuff? Yeah, dude. Every time, and it works out. Well, I don't wanna sound like that because I'm setting myself up for jinxes all day, but this stuff feels easier than other things. How about that? So see what I'm doing? I'm making that mark to almost be perpendicular to there. So then I can run a parallel twice pipe going right here. I know we're gonna powder coat the cell can, so I have a little bit of like a jurisdiction here where I can safely not stress it too hard. All right, so little high on the notch. Yeah, could have done less. I think I can still get some adjustment into that, but I'm not really pleased with that. I think it should have been like that. I think I cut too much. Let me see what I can do. Yeah, I might be able to get a little correction. You know what else I can do too? What's this gonna want? I can always take some out of that bottom one. Because I don't want to end up doing a miter or something weird. So yeah, I'm gonna take some off the bottom one. The masterful world of juggling tubes. I'll make an adjustment on the apex wheel. Also gonna get some assembly grease to put into here. Probably not gonna last as long, but it's gonna do for now. Let's see how we can party. Ring ding bing bong bong ding 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 bong bong ding ding. Ring ding 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 bing bong. All right. Now we're just about where we want to be. I'm gonna shore this one up. Take a little bit off this, and I think we're gonna get a couple things to tack, and I'm gonna tape it. So chingaderas 1, chingaderas 2. Liking that a lot. Liking that enough to where I'm going to tack it. So, feeling comfortable with that. I'm gonna make a couple marks. I'm gonna do a 1, 2, and a 1. I'm gonna go over here and do a 1, 2, and a 1. And then I'm gonna put an X on this one and an X on this one so I know what I'm doing. So this is one assembly we can tack. And then we're gonna tape it up here. And then we're gonna build this out. We're probably still gonna need to cut this one to figure out where that turn is, but that's okay. Clean the insides of these things before it's too late. Which would constitute like just a deburr kind of thing. Not gonna be able to service them after this. I'm gonna be very careful, but I also need to wipe the inside from the cutting fluid from like the factory. I just want to be careful because I don't want to tarnish the line that I have out here. Yeah, this is pretty dirty material. I'm gonna be grateful to get a tack. All right, I'm over it. I'm not doing that. I'm pussyfooting around. This whole thing can just get cleaned up, and I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna mark it proper without fucking around. Not gonna play that game. It's all grimy and weird. That pump is a little bit staggered on the holes on the bottom. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a wash to not transfer the data. So I'm gonna at least get some marks on here to transfer what I already have. As far as depth, this is gonna get this piece close if I need it. The next one is this guy. So that's what I'm marking. Is super accurate? No, but accurate enough for this, for sure. Same thing here, right? You can see this. So this is where I'm staged for that. So at least I know. Why do I put an X on them? So I don't go full retard and trash them somewhere. All right, so I'm gonna save this. We know that's cool. Now we can continue doing what we're doing. Check for the X. All right, put gloves on, don't be an idiot. Foot pedal, ground, DC or AC. There's that one. I don't feel confident in this one. So when I don't feel confident, zinger have tape on this thing. Just get that baseline hold. That ain't no dynasty, brother. Take a little bit of scotch. Just rip the weld area a little bit. Next, chingaderas. Just not feeling comfortable with that. I just can see the fitment. It's just not happy. I'm not gonna go on the Sharpie. One of the things with aluminum is you cannot, it hates the Sharpie marks. All right, we got one. Let's go figure this thing out. There it is. Cool. All right. Just one hit right now. It's gonna do it. I'm gonna show you guys what I got in a second here. So you can see, dips down a little bit, then rips back in line with the parallel. And then our next goal is gonna be this move. So we'll come out of here, we go over to here, and then parallel, and then bend back into here. And then we're gonna replicate this onto the other side. So right now I need to go get another coupler. That looks a little, no, it's not. Actually, if that's probably gonna be done. Okay, so I'm gonna let this set up. for this. And that's going to be a straight cut, and that's going to go right here. Cling bong, ding 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 bong, ding ding bong. Only thing is, this is a little bit of an interference here. I might have to do something custom. If I would have just kicked that up another degree, we would have been in a good spot. But I just think it has to go up first. I'm gonna cut it though. Let's cut it first. Yeah, I know. I'll get the good stuff and not have a blue. Ooh. Okay. I hate when there's these little pieces like that. Like that, if I just had another U-bend, that could just be one with a slight bend. So I know this takes care of that. And I still have an extra U-bend. But I also know I gotta make this. And I think we have enough to do everything because I just don't like that little extra bullshit. So let me see what I can do. It's whatever we use for this. This is gonna have to be supplementary to both sides. Okay, so that, you just want that little tiny piece right there. No, you gotta be safe, dude, play it safe. Regardless, this is what we want right here. So I know that I can at least, I'm gonna prep these two and put them back. Then I'm gonna mark them and tack them. And that's the setup for our next tip. So see, now we're running parallel with the fuel fill. And that's what I'm going for. Something I'm thinking about right now, and then that's gonna be our last bend. I'm running through here. Nice, clean, low profile. It's parallel right here. So you can kind of see its sights. I'm trying to get the camera to sight. But really, my only concern I'm looking at right now is, that's my best friend. Love you. It's just how I'm gonna get this out. So when this is welded, how is that gonna come out if it's super tight right here? Where can I slip like that silicone down or something? Something to look at is this. I already got this marked. You can see where I'm going with it. So obviously I need to adjust that a little bit, but you can see where I want to link that thing in. And then what we're going to want to do is just start replicating it onto this side. Pretty solid. A little uneasy on this one right here, but everything else feels good. I'm going to tack this junction and then come back and final that. Look at that bad boy. All right. Little double pipe classic. I said what I said. Well, it kind of just wants to go right there. And that's that, man. Not as symmetrical as I'd like. Just needs to go up in there, boy. To get something that feels parallel. Right there is the move. Yeah, hell yeah. It's pretty close. I think we're in a good spot, dude. I feel comfortable with that. Now let's just hope that comes out. You know, when we're doing a final on this thing, I just have concerns about this area over here. Now we're doing that. So I'm coming back with lube because that's my problem now. All right, what's the move here? So this guy goes in first. Okay. This guy, this ugly blue thing, goes where it's supposed to. This guy goes in here. Get this thing out of here so it's not collateral damage. Slide the blue on first. Hit your head on the top. That hurt pretty bad. There it is. Satisfied. Tighten that up so it stays. Come on, boy. Now once we get that other one in here, we should be doing that together. We're almost there. You guys ready to build the other side? Just thinking about this. We're probably gonna want some kind of a clean clamp, like a saddle situation on here. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but even like a reservoir hose clamp, like where it's a half saddle, just lightly welded on here to give, man, I don't want to run a hose clamp all the way across this. So we'll finish that out and I'll think about that while we're building. But right now, let's get mock-up going on this side. I'm going to take this light and transfer into our new realm. All right, before I cut this is all my indicators I made when I was doing these. I just want to see what's gonna change with this because that hole is staggered. See that? So it's not like they're one and one. It's one and then the other one's like back here. So I think that's just gonna render this direction and it's gonna be a little longer of a run. But I wanna check that because that might be less angled in or something. Because what we want is we probably want this bend to hit, you know, we want this thing to come right to this point. So maybe I'll mark here and I'll measure from the center and then I'll come over here and I'll mark here and I'll know that that's where I want to start making that bend going down and see where we land. You know, if we can get that angle the same too, then we're winning. So we'll see. I'm going to send this. I don't think I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to definitely run this piece. I'm just not going to make that second cut here to get this part right. So what this one is this one. So that guy right there, starting from here and going down, is this. That might change. So what I'm going to do is just get this, which is our guy coming out of the coupler. And that's going to give me an answer right off the bat. Sacrifice number one. I trimmed this back a little bit to get the height right. Meaning I trimmed some angle out of this. So it can land, you know, on that same plane. But it's going to start earlier, meaning I'm going to have to cut it here and see my line. But that's the way to get the same bend. You know, I don't want to have different seams either. So like, you know, where you see the butts, where the welds are going to be, I would rather them all be consistent there too. So I think the best thing I do is start this a little earlier, you know, maybe an inch before, and then it still rides on the same plane at the same angle, like downwards. Makes sense to me. And then this is my variable that I can catch up on length with to get to this next bend. How am I going to get this? I can sight it. But I think right now I'm just going to rely on something. So I can go over here and get the rotation right. So what I'm looking for here is the sight from this to this and where these drop off, and if they drop off equally. They're doing so. I'm watching that top silver line and the tubing line on each side, trying to figure out where that reveal is, and this seems like it's low. So next thing I need to do is figure out this transition right. We know what we want over here. Believe this is the piece I already cut for that, but I'm going to look at it, and then what we're going to want to do is just get our tubing to run that parallel. And then that's going to be our last intersection that we need to figure out. Obviously this thing's a little loosey-goosey. But you get the point, right? So we have our last bend to get in there. I did use, last time I used a little bit of a straight, so it's not just one small piece of pie, but it's a, you know, a bend here and then it goes straight for a little bit. So I'm going to try to replicate that same thing. I'm just going to get this as a placeholder in here. We'll go from there. Nice fill. Alright, so we're pretty much there. We have welding to do here. We have some welding to do here, and then just a quick, easy clamp. Again, I don't know, like I said, I don't necessarily want that to be a hose clamp. Do they need a clamp? Probably, just one for securement. We'll figure something clever out. Right now I'm going to pull those apart and weld them. Some of these tacks that are big and ugly, I'm going to sand down and finish out. And then I'm going to go through here. We just ordered a new pipe cleaner, and I don't think it's here yet. So I'm going to just hand clean this stuff. Even though it'll get a powder coat, I still want the presentation to be right. But first things first, I'm going to knock down any of the tacks that look like they're going to be a problem when we put a pass on here. And then obviously I'm going to wipe like grease off. So a couple ugly ducklings on here that I'm going to get. That'll be a 3-inch abrasive pad, and then a red surface conditioning pad. I don't want a brand new one though. There we go. And then we'll go through and we'll rip a Scotch. Main goal here is to just not clip a lot of the tubing and just clip the tack. And then I don't go super deep into it because I know the Scotch, the surface conditioning will clean it up final. Now, the other thing to note is when you do this, it weakens your structure considerably. So you need to be very careful on how you tap this thing even when you're welding it, because everything's going to want to crack. So you're taking a lot of the mass out of the tack. And then when I start welding, I don't start on the tack. I start somewhere where there isn't a tack, so I'm still using the tack as a work holder. Remember I was saying the tacks get weak? I broke one in half already. Okay, we got one that broke. Oh, never mind, we got two. So I'm gonna do one at a time. High frequency on. Looks like I'm right at 170, which I don't need all that. But I'd rather have extra rod I'm gonna run out of, so I'm gonna go grab some more of that. That's 4043. Acetone is the last process here. Ooh, this thing feels not strong right now. Other thing I've advised on before is not having acetone on your welder or your table where you're operating, because if it arcs a certain way, it could be really cool. I'm gonna put this thing back together first. Hopefully use the same tack. Yeah, I see why. It's like two on the same side. All right, let's try to bomb this thing. No auto pulse. I'm going to try probably consistent foot amperage. The other thing I want to note, this is a good thing we stopped here, where the start and stops want to be, because you can always kind of tell where the start and stop is. And as far as what I mean by that is not necessarily where I'm going to start and stop each time, but where I'm going to start the weld, go around the tube, and end. And I don't want that to be a visual thing. So we look at what's going on here. We know that this guy is going to be driver. DVR. So I know I'm going to make a mark on all the areas that are on the back of this And that's going to indicate not only where I start, but where I end. Well, duh, right? Got my helper blocks. It's going to be the positioning that's going to be weird here. Without this thing being clamped into something. I probably do need to start running clamps. I don't want to scratch the material either. Found a pretty good method here. I'm not good at welding aluminum tubing, especially small diameter. I don't know if I've ever done enough of it because it always ends up just being small stuff like this, or like a water line, you know, or an intake tube. And so I never really get in the routine of like getting good at it. And I know it's something that I don't consider myself premium level. So with that being said, you know, I usually have to figure out, like, I got to get through a bunch of the welds on these things to get a result that I like and then I'm satisfied with. And that's usually towards the end of whatever I'm welding. So it is what it is. I think I'm going to go weld the pumper mount in there. Got this pretty dialed. I mean, so I tried to keep the start stops on the back side, so what we see is none of that. Hank's sad. Okay, let's get that welded. We need to get the tabs welded. Right there. I can do it with the machine on there. Not gonna get that hot, and then we'll put this thing back together. I think we got the ratchet in here already. I got lube on those other guys. And that's just Maxima, however you say it. Assembly lube, red stuff. Assembly grease. This is the cold hard truth. Do you remember me talking about making a mistake like almost every time? So I trusted a tack that was on the end of this one. And now I can just clearly see it, even right now, how it's lined up. We got spooktastical stuff going on. So I need to cut this off because it's not going to mount. I told you. I can't get away from it. Now the moment is, how fast can I cut that off, clean it, clock it, weld it? We start now. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't share this process too. Not going to use wax because I don't want to contaminate it. Dude, you think you get away from it, and either I'm not realizing the positive wins, or this is just every time I have this happen, you know? Dude, right at the end, as we go to close this whole thing out. I hear people talking about perfect a lot, and I never ever am that guy. But mistakes and perfect are different. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting the weld off with typical guy. 3-inch sanding disc. I'm going to put a newer abrasive wheel onto this. Yeah, they're both brand new. And then I'm going to just get this cleaned up to the point. I'm trying not to hit the weld. And I'm also trying to keep the grain consistent. This was one of my first air tools. This is a .co. I didn't even know what brand I was getting. I just ordered a good one from McMaster Car. All right. I think we're sub 5 minutes right now. One more thing we got to get. Pretty good penetration in there, so not just a burr from a cut. Let's go put this bad boy back in. Oh, we were so close. So close. I also welded some of the tube junctions, like the X that was here. Some of the junctions up there, wherever I could get to them. Okay, what do we want? We want this. I think I cut the wrong one off. I hate that. Like there's that karmatic debt, you know? It's just part of my life, I don't know. Makes you wonder. So just humble pie. Okay, not so fast, bitch, you know? Yeah, it's totally the wrong one. The defeat is real. Yeah, that's insane. All right, we're cutting two. I'm gonna go do the same thing again. This falls in the same category as thought. So I've had some instances where I have a voice, a little tiny, say your normal voice in your head is 100% volume. And I have this voice in my head that's at like 10%. So for instance, I'm working early in the morning, it's cold, and I need to go prep some tubes on the lathe. And I know that I shouldn't have gloves on, but my hands are cold and it's gonna be fast. It's gonna be easy. It's not gonna be a big deal. And the little 10% voice goes, don't fucking do that. Don't do that. And I go, and I don't listen to the voice. And sometimes you get that voice 2 or 3 times, but you have to be clear enough to be listening for it. And I used to run into those issues a lot when, you know, I was hungover or something like that. It's a lot more difficult to listen to the voices. And then immediately they get you. And for me, that's this, right? I when I was looking at this, I go, man, I wonder if it was, you know, 1 cut or 2 cuts here. And I'm like, I should go back in the video, take the time. It's always about that, right? It's about doing the extra work. Take the time and just look and see on the video, because I recorded it with you guys, what it was. And I didn't. And it literally kicked me in my ass real quick. So that is what it is. It's always those little voices. Story of the lathe. I went over and I started cleaning tubes with the lathe. And I had these gloves on and the sandpaper caught and it wrapped my hand around. And I got right about back to here. And then I heel stomped the lathe, the emergency brake, before it kept pulling my hand into a spiral. Same deal, same voice. I just cut a new one for part of this. It was a little easier to do. Clean a tiny little piece. All right, so we're up here. We want tape again. Don't want to scratch the fuel cell. So I'm just kind of barely holding stuff here, but you see what we're doing? I'm gonna mark it again. Oh, and then we're back. That is pretty damn happy. It's got to mark it accurately. I'm floating a couple pieces in my hand. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, X, X. All right. Information acquired. Thing's gonna crack off at any point here. The classic thing with this stuff is people underestimate how much time it actually takes. It's just a default setting for people because it's hard to put it together unless you do it. That's why it's so important to try to be effective with it, with your time. That's what makes people good. It's not about the quality. Foot pulse actually kind of rips. And then you know what else? You get into fear of, is this one gonna work? You know, did I do this one right? Okay. Like me. Well, I'll fucking take it. All right. Satisfied. Cool. So, last but not least is a quick hose clamp device thing going on here. See what that looks like. I just want to look at what options are. Part of me says like the rubber isolator things. Hate those though. But it's gonna need something. I have it really tight to this, so you don't want to space it off much, and I did that by design. This is extreme with the one. So I'll probably double them just for symmetry. And then I'm just gonna put heat shrink on like this. I mean, dude, it's insane. Solid. All right, I only got two. Everything we have is either too long or too short. Not a huge deal. You know, the thing is, we really don't need to be doing this final, but I just want to close it out. One hose clamp on there would work. It just doesn't look cool to me. I think it would be nice to have redundancy and have two of them. So I'm just going to order more stuff, and I'll put one on for now. It's just like zip ties, you know, holding that thing. You could have one, and you have three mounting points. You know, you have the inlet, the outlet, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be nice to have a little bit of a double clamp right there. My toxic trait is using a blowtorch for a shrink wrap. Also, this is our Milwaukee. I'd sure like to know where mine is. It's my brand new Snap-on one. It's got some low hours on it. She's missing. Worked in some shops where the owners are super Nazi about their tools, and that's not my MO. Just if I have stuff that people can use, great. Especially if there's a new guy, I always let him use my stuff, and then as soon as he settles in, or if he gets to that point, you know, I tell him to start chipping away, getting your own tools. I'm gonna bury the bottom of the clamping with the, you know, the head here underneath, so it's a little more ghosted. Yeah, two would be nice though, but that's pretty freaking solid. Gotta get two on there, huh? I'm just gonna take my notes on these clamps so I can just order two more right now. It's not gonna be good for a cup though. No, I don't like that. Absolutely need to. All right. I think that concludes this thing. I don't feel satisfied because I kind of want the full final on this, which is I want my couplers, I want my hose clamps, but overall I think we probably got through a lot. I hope you guys got something from this. This is a trial and error of getting this stuff right. So if we, we're probably going to notice stuff like I don't know where the audio is going to be, any of that stuff. This is going to be our first into this, and then it's going to get better and better and better. Same with me and talking to you guys. I'll probably just get smoother, better. That's it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thanks for making it through this thing, and I'll catch you next time.